Arman Tsarukyan seemingly trains at the same high-altitude camp that helped Khamzat Chimaev while gearing up for Islam Makhachev fight at UFC 311. Arman Tsarukyan is doing everything in his power to dethrone Islam Makhachev as lightweight champion at UFC 311, including training at high altitude. He shared recent training footage on his official YouTube channel, revealing that he has been working on his cardio near Mount Elbrus.
Так время быстро пролетело, что я не верю, что я провел после него 10 боев и стал номером 1 претендентом за титул UFC.
The aforementioned mountain is the tallest in Europe, standing 18,510 feet above sea level. When Tsarukyan first faced Makhachev years ago in his promotional debut, he did so on short notice. Despite mounting a commendable effort, he tired within 3 rounds, sealing Makhachev's unanimous decision win. This time, he won't make the same mistake, following the same high-altitude camp that helped improve Khamzat Chimaev's own gas tank and prepared him for his triumphant showing against ex-middleweight champion Robert Whittaker. This was pointed out by a fan on X, who snapped a screenshot from Tsarukyan's video before opening the following caption: Arman Tsarukyan is training at the same place Khamzat Chimaev trained for his fight against Whittaker. Meanwhile, Makhachev is himself training hard, with the lightweight champion being pushed to his absolute limits by UFC Hall of Famer Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is keeping him on his toes. Islam Makhachev's training sessions alongside Khabib Nurmagomedov have been rigorous and concentrated. Renowned for his dedication and tactical approach, Khabib has played a crucial role in sharpening Islam's skills, especially in areas like striking and grappling.
Hands up. Выше, выше, выше. Выше. Хорошо. Выше руки. Hands up. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 20. Hands up. Islam, hands up. Don't touch. Don't touch head. 15.
Makhachev is determined to solidify himself as the dominant force at lightweight following criticism that his championship legacy has been built off of fighting featherweights and over-the-hill standout. Conversely, Tsarukyan will be aiming to fulfill his championship dreams by finally capturing UFC gold. Not long ago, Arman Tsarukyan and Khamzat Chimaev served as competing coaches on Hype Fighting Championships reality TV show, which exhibited similarities to The Ultimate Fighter. During filming, Tsarukyan and Chimaev engaged each other in a friendly wrestling match. Naturally, due to Chimaev's combination of skill, size, and strength, he was fairly dominant in the affair. Tsarukyan, though, wasn't completely helpless, defending himself to the best of his ability against a much bigger opponent, who has manhandled bigger foes than him. Arman Tsarukyan's training camp is known for its intensity and strategic focus, with the fighter consistently pushing his limits to refine his skills. Under the guidance of seasoned coaches, Tsarukyan hones his wrestling, striking, and conditioning, ensuring he's well-rounded and prepared for any opponent. His work ethic and commitment to growth have earned him a reputation as one of the most disciplined fighters in the division. Throughout his camp, Tsarukyan focuses on perfecting his technique while maintaining peak physical condition, staying mentally sharp to outwork and outsmart his rivals inside the octagon. Jamal Hill discussed the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, stating that Tsarukyan has been looking strong and putting in a lot of effort, making it an exciting and unpredictable matchup. Hill acknowledged that it could go either way, but still believes Makhachev should be considered the favorite.
I've seen Islam. He's been out here the last couple days. He looks big, he looks strong, he's been working. But Arman's been putting together. I believe it's an interesting fight. It can go either way, you know, and I just can't wait to see it.
Hill highlighted that Makhachev is currently ranked as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He also noted that Makhachev's impressive performances have left no question about his skills, and Hill is fully in favor of Islam being favored in the fight.
Islam's the favorite. Do you think he should be the favorite in the fight?
Yes, 100% he should be the favorite. He's a pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now, and his performances have left not much room to doubt him, you know, so So yeah, he should be the favorite, but at the end of the day, it's a fight.
Terrence McKinney expressed respect for Arman Tsarukyan's striking abilities, but believes Islam Makhachev will come out on top due to his size advantage. McKinney feels that Makhachev's height and strength will give him the upper hand in controlling the majority of the scramble.
I like what Arman brings as threat on their feet, but I think Islam will, just because of his height, will be able to win most of the scramble. I think he was a bigger person just in general.
Over the course of 5 rounds, McKinney thinks Islam's physicality will be overwhelming for Arman. While he admitted this could be Makhachev's most challenging title defense yet, McKinney still anticipates that Islam will demonstrate why he remains the champion.
And I think 5 rounds dealing with a person with that much muscle, I think Islam shows why he's champ still. But this will probably be his toughest title fight.
Bilal Muhammad weighed in on Islam Makhachev's upcoming rematch with Arman Tsarukyan, praising Arman as a worthy challenger. While he recognized that their initial fight was competitive, Muhammad feels that Islam has made significant improvements, especially in his striking and grappling. He anticipates a commanding performance from Makhachev in the rematch, confident that the champion's growth will be evident in the octagon.
Islam, he's headlining rematch against Arman Tsarukyan. What do you expect out of the champion, Islam?
I think Arman's definitely the deserving contender right now. Obviously, the first fight was close, but I think Islam's grown so much. You've seen with his striking, with his grappling, everything, and yeah, I think it's definitely going to be on still.
Michael Chandler reflected on the first fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, acknowledging that it was a tight and thrilling contest in the eyes of many, though he admitted he hadn't personally watched it. Chandler praised Tsarukyan for his impressive victory over Charles Oliveira and his ongoing ascent in the lightweight division.
I think if you look at history and their first fight together, obviously it was a barn burner. It was pretty close in a lot of people's eyes. I don't know if I've actually watched that fight. I've just heard from people that it was close. But you know, Arman obviously beat Oliveira last fight. Arman has been charging forward.
Despite Tsarukyan's rise, Chandler expressed confidence that Islam Makhachev would retain his title, citing Makhachev's dominance and recent performances. He emphasized Islam's continued improvement, particularly in his striking and exceptional grappling, which he believes solidifies Makhachev as the top lightweight in the world.
I think right now, I will be surprised if Arman pulls it off. I think Islam has continued to solidify himself as the best lightweight in the world by far with his performances. And I have no problem saying that. His hands are getting better. He just outstruck Poirier. He can outgrapple anybody.
Alex Hernandez acknowledged Arman Tsarukyan as Islam Makhachev's toughest opponent, labeling him a formidable challenger. However, Hernandez favored Islam to keep his title, pointing out that while Arman is resilient, Makhachev holds the advantage. He remarked that if Tsarukyan can't secure the win, it's difficult to envision anyone who could dethrone Makhachev. Hernandez praised both fighters for their adaptability, but emphasized Islam's ongoing growth, particularly in striking. He believes that with Makhachev's strong support system, it's hard to imagine him losing the fight.
You know, Arman's his most competitive fight. The dude's an absolute monster. So they're both so tough. I'm gonna lean towards the champ, Islam, but yeah, Arman's a motherfucker to beat. So these guys work cut out for him. If Arman doesn't do it, who I think would be among the most competitive, yeah, I don't really see who beats him. Right? Yeah, like who else? Yeah, I think that's why it's such an exciting fight, because they're kind of similar in their versatility, but I think Islam's continue to improve all around and on his feet, and tactically they've got a real brilliant team.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to see him losing.
Daniel Cormier reflected on the first encounter between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, stating that it was a tougher test for Islam at that time. While Islam secured a clear victory with scorecards of 30-27 and 29-28, Cormier pointed out that people often expect him to dominate so thoroughly that any fight where he faces difficulty feels like a setback. He highlighted Islam's impressive run, having defeated top fighters like Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and Dustin Poirier in his last 4 bouts, underscoring his dominance in the lightweight division.
So for me, I like the fight because it represented a tougher challenge for Islam at the time when they fought.
Yeah.
Granted, on 2 fight cards, Islam won 30-27. On 1, it was 29-28. I believe that Makhachev falls victim to expectation. He's been so dominant that if you are able to compete with him in any way, it seems as though you did better. Bro, he shut Dustin out and submitted him. in the story was Dustin Poirier. I mean, this guy, Islam, has finished Charles, finished Volk twice, and then just finished Dustin Poirier in his last 4 fights. That is a crazy number.
Cormier also acknowledged that Tsarukyan has made significant improvements since their first fight and expressed confidence that Arman could challenge Islam with a full training camp. He believes both fighters are among the best in the lightweight division, making this rematch a pivotal one. While recognizing Islam's dominance, Cormier sees this as his toughest challenge to date. However, he emphasized that Arman still needs to prove he can beat Islam, despite not having a full camp in their initial fight. Even under those conditions, Arman was still defeated.
But when you think about Arman Tsarukyan, he has constantly improved, and he has said since the first time they fought, the moment he got another opportunity, he was going to beat Makhachev because they would have a training camp to do that. I think these are the 2 best lightweights in the world. I've watched these guys time and time again separate themselves, and when you separate yourselves, you have to find that equal. You just generally don't get it when 2 guys are kind of running parallel to each other. Makhachev has looked amazing, but I do believe this is the biggest and best fight for him, unless he was doing something different in another weight class. But when Arman Tsarukyan has to still down, go and beat a guy that beat him last time, right? I know he wasn't 100%. I know he didn't have a full camp, but he still got beat.
Joshua Van expressed his enthusiasm for the upcoming clash between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, emphasizing the exceptional talent of both fighters. He noted that Islam continues to improve with every fight, showcasing significant growth and development in his skill set.
Ooh, that's gonna be a great fight. Islam is getting better at each fight, and the guy that you just mentioned, he's very good to his last fight against Oliveira, right?
Van also commended Arman's abilities, especially his impressive performance against Oliveira in his most recent bout. While acknowledging the strengths of both fighters, Van considered the matchup to be a 50-50 fight, suggesting that it's too difficult to predict the outcome.
Yeah. That was a great fight too. So I think this is like a 50-50 fight.
Paul Craig shared his view that it's extremely challenging to dethrone the Dagestani fighters, praising their distinctive and highly effective fighting style. He suggested that given their approach to the sport, the fight is likely to unfold in a predictable direction.
I don't think there's anybody going to dethrone these Dagestanis. I think they're just their style is beautiful.
Craig expressed his belief that the champion will stay the champion, meaning Islam Makhachev's reign is likely to continue. He acknowledged the strength and skill of the Dagestani fighters, noting that their consistency and unique style make them incredibly difficult to defeat.
And I do believe that it's going to go one way, and there's going to be the champ's going to stay the champ.
Billy Quarantillo shared his excitement for the upcoming rematch between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, describing it as a thrilling matchup. He highlighted that Arman took the first fight on short notice, which may have worked to his advantage by catching Islam off guard.
Man, that's going to be an exciting fight. I think, Arman took that last one on short notice.
However, Quarantillo believes Islam is operating on a higher level than Arman. With a full training camp this time, along with Khabib and other elite coaches and fighters in his corner, Quarantillo is confident that Makhachev will be even better prepared for the rematch.
But I still think Islam's going to get it done. I just feel like he's on a different level than Arman, and I think Arman taking that on short notice actually kind of helped him, because I think it kind of threw Islam off a little bit. Now that he's going to have a full training camp with Khabib and with all those guys that are in his camp.
Dominic Cruz expressed his enthusiasm for the matchup, noting that both Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan have impressed him, and their styles align in an intriguing way. He praised the matchmakers for selecting this fight, emphasizing that they always strive to present the toughest challenge for the champion.
I just like it because Tsarukyan has looked so good and Makhachev has looked so good, but I think they're the perfect style matchup. The matchmakers know what they're doing. When you look at, they try to find the matchup that makes the worst sense for the champion. Like, what can beat them?
Cruz further highlighted that Arman presents a significant stylistic challenge for Makhachev, with the ability to match him in grappling, wrestling, and takedowns. He speculated that the fight might evolve into a stand-up battle, despite both fighters being known for their grappling. Cruz raised the question of whether their strengths would neutralize each other, or if one fighter's superior wrestling and jiu-jitsu would ultimately determine the outcome, calling it a win-win scenario regardless of the result.
It's the toughest style. He can match the grappling, he can match the wrestling, he can match the takedowns. And now you're forced, maybe you're going to see a stand-up fight out of two guys who don't like to stand up. Does it cancel out? Or do you see one of the greatest combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu, sambo essentially, mixed together all in one, and you see that? Like, Either way, it's a win-win.
Youssef Zalal shared his confidence in Islam Makhachev, stating that he is definitely picking Islam to win. However, he also recognized that Tsarukyan poses one of the most difficult stylistic challenges for Makhachev.
I'm definitely gonna go with my boy Islam, but I have a thing. I think that's the toughest stylistically matchup for Islam. I do believe that. People saying, oh, he fought him on short notice, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah.
Zalal compared Makhachev's victory over Oliveira to Tsarukyan's performance against the same opponent, noting that while both wins were impressive, styles play a crucial role in MMA. He pointed out that no matter how skilled a fighter is, certain styles can present significant challenges that are hard to overcome.
You should see what Arman is doing, and they're comparing like, oh, look at what Islam did to Oliveira and then Arman to Oliveira. I was like, in this game, styles make matchups. It doesn't matter how good you are, but some styles are just not your kryptonite. So I think it's going to be a really strong matchup, but I'm definitely going with my boy Islam.
Drawcar Klose shared his perspective on the upcoming fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan, highlighting Makhachev's size and strength as factors that give him the advantage to win. However, Klose expressed his hope that Arman could pull off an upset, as he enjoys seeing new names rise to challenge the top of the division.
Islam's a big guy. I think Islam was going to win it, you know what I mean? But I hope Arman wins, you know what I mean? I like to see change in the top.
Klose added that it would be exciting to see fresh contenders climbing the rankings and taking on established fighters. Despite his support for Tsarukyan, Klose acknowledged that it would be a tough challenge for Arman, given Islam's dominance and skill set.
You know, move those numbers around and, you know, get some guys out. So hopefully Arman pulls it off, but I think it's going to be a tough task for him.
Brandon Gibson believes Islam Makhachev is the rightful favorite, pointing to his championship experience, particularly in his fight with Charles Oliveira, where Islam demonstrated resilience despite facing difficulties. Gibson feels that Islam is continuing to evolve as a champion and expects him to dominate in the rematch against Arman Tsarukyan.
I think Islam is rightfully the favorite. He's racking up that championship experience. You know, in the bout with Poirier showed his championship character, like being able to really dig down deep in those later rounds, despite the cut, despite being wobbled. I think Islam's really growing as a champion.
Gibson also anticipates that Islam will rely on his grappling once again in the rematch. He doesn't expect the fight to be as close as their initial encounter, given Makhachev's growth and development as a fighter.
We won't see such a close rematch between those two. I think Islam shows domination and showcases his grappling once again.
Luke Rockhold shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev's evolution, acknowledging that while their first fight was competitive and Makhachev had a slight edge in dominance, he believes Islam has become a much better striker since then. He emphasized that Makhachev is more rangy and powerful than many give him credit for, noting his improved confidence and well-rounded skill set. Rockhold highlighted Makhachev's endurance, relentless pressure, and continuous improvement, stating that these qualities make him an even more formidable fighter today.
I mean, I think it's pretty similar. I think they fought before already, but it's pretty similar to this last matchup. It comes down to endurance, pressure, and who wants it more. Islam's been on top for a long time.
What happened in the first fight? I missed that one.
It was like wrestling, striking. Yeah. It was just a little edge dominance for Islam. But he's a better striker. I think he's more rangy. He's more like, people don't give him credit for what he deserves, because he's good on the feet, man. He can hit hard, and he's getting better. He's getting more confident. He's good everywhere else, too. I think he's a longer guy.
Brendan Schaub shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev, stating that he doesn't consider him his pound-for-pound number one, citing the relatively weaker strength of schedule among the top 5 fighters. He clarified that this wasn't a criticism of Islam, but rather an acknowledgement that there is still much for Makhachev to prove in the lightweight division. Schaub stressed that Islam should focus on dominating at lightweight before considering a move to welterweight, as there is still more work to be done at 155 pounds.
Now, when it comes to pound for pound in your division, I look at strength of schedule. I look at who have you beat, how have you beat them. Islam's strength of schedule, when we're talking about, if you look at the pound for pound list, the top 5, has by far the easiest strength of schedule. He's not my pound for pound number one. I'll be very clear. Not my king, not bend the knee, dude. Cut my head off. Cut my head off. Not hating on Islam. I know you guys are gonna run with that. I'm not doing that. I'm not hating on him. There's nothing he can do about it. It's not his fault. He fights whoever's in front of him. But for his management, whoever's telling this, dude, let's jump to 70. Buddy, you have so much work to do at 55. You have a lot to do at 55 before we bend the knee.
Schaub also mentioned that after watching Arman Tsarukyan's recent performances, he would favor Tsarukyan in a potential rematch. He believes Tsarukyan's growth and improvements make him a dangerous contender against Islam, despite Makhachev's dominance.
And Arman's going to give you a fight. And I would favor Arman after watching his last 3 or 4 performances. I would favor Arman.
So what are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.